QVC Quality Violent Cinema.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Quality Violent Cinema. We are here with Marcus Koch, effects genius, director. What's up, Marcus?
Hey, how's it going? How you guys doing?
Also known as Marcus Koch.
Marcus Koch. Yeah, what's that from again? I feel like there was a story behind that.
My last name or
No, the cock.
Oh, just because the documentary you just got put in because you're making jokes on that.
Oh, yeah. Were they calling me cock? Well, that's the number one mispronunciation is cock. So I just go with it. You know, there's like Koch, couch, Kush, Koch. I mean, my grandfather's name was Harry. Like that's not a joke at all. Like his name was Harry Koch.
Wow. So, I mean, that name actually does exist. It's not just from Beavis and Butthead.
Yeah, no. It was and he named my dad Tom. And when I was going to be born, he was trying to convince my dad to name me Richard. So I would have been Dick Koch. I was that close to being So it could be Tom, Dick, and Harry.
Yeah, so how did you and Stephen Biro meet? We interviewed him last night, but his interviews will be coming out like a week apart, hopefully. But yeah, how did you guys meet?
He had a video store that he opened up in Ybor City called Video Mayhem, and I just go up there and kind of check out stuff. He doesn't remember this, but like I was trying to tell him about my movie Rot because I had just like made Rot like when I was like in my 1920s, and I was trying to tell him about it, and he goes, "Oh yeah, I've seen it." He's like, "It's bad. Don't quit your day job." And I was just kind of like, "Oh, okay." But like we stayed friends. Like we talk about movies all the time. He back then he had somehow fell ass backward into a movie deal where he was going to get $10 million to make 10 films, and one of them like was going to be the like not a remake but a sequel to Society. And so he had the whole script writ for it, like Brian Yuzna. Like I mean, it's a wild fucking story, and of course, that never happened. But we stayed friends, and we had talked about like, oh, maybe one day we could do like a guinea pig, and yeah, we finally made it happen.
That's awesome.
So what exactly is your role in all the upcoming guinea pigs? Are you directing any of them, or are you strictly producing, or just doing the effects?
Just doing effects. He's bringing on Eric Fox to do the next coming one, who's also an effects artist. He was on that TV show Face Off. So he's industry professional, like lots of stuff, loves horror films, loves fucked up horror films. So he's doing that one, Slaughter of the Swine. It was originally going to be called Illuminati Party. So it's kind of like Eyes Wide Shut meets like Bouquet of Guts and Gore.
Nice. And
then my wife Jessie, like she's directing Chum Bucket, which will be coming out, this I guess after Slaughter of the Swine. And that one's I don't know. We're trying to have fun, like kind of serial killer / giallo / Bouquet of Guts and Gore, like just a lot of over the top bodily evisceration.
What's the setting or the plot of that one for Chum Bucket? Are you allowed to disclose it yet?
Yeah, I think so. I don't think Steve's like really gone and said much about it, but it's a like some people sneak into like what do you call it, urban explorers, like go around exploring like urban places, and like abandoned buildings, and like in our setting there's like this kind of infamous, not really haunted place, but like, oh, you should check out this abandoned what is it? An aquarium, and you should go check that out. But people go missing, so that's like the lore around it. And then of course there's one guy who still lives in this abandoned aquarium, who captures like people who break in, and then like cuts them up and feeds them to his sharks.
That's so cool. That's awesome.
So I mean, we're trying to have fun. I mean, but it's an idea Jesse, came up with because and it stems from, and you guys should probably have Jesse on to talk about this too.
Yeah.
But like it stems from a real case where a bunch of urban explorers broke into an abandoned aquarium, and they found this like dead shark rotting away in a glass case, like a big giant tank that had this like zombified shark just floating in it. And there's real pictures you can find on the internet. So the story kind of sparked from there, like, oh fuck, what if we make something like that, but there's a guy who's like there and feeds them to his other sharks,
Nice. I like that. That reminds me of Eaten Alive.
Like alligator? Yeah, Eaten Alive.
Eaten Alive with Toby Hooper, with that guy that's like, that's a good one. Wow, that's cool. Well, yeah, we shouldn't talk too much about that one because I'd love to have Jesse on to kind of go over it. We can go more in depth on it too. So I don't know. That might be good after it comes out, maybe if it's soon, or maybe we could interview her first and she can give us some spoilers. So
yeah,
that'd be cool.
But it's going to be gory. We're working on the body parts and stuff, so it's going to have a lot of bodily dismemberment. So
nice. Any certain scenes about the new films that you're excited about?
Yeah, like I've seen a rough cut of Eric Fox's Slaughter the Swine, and that one's kind of fun. Like it's funny. I don't know if Steve talked about this, but like one of the things he wanted to avoid, we're doing extreme horrors, but like there's certain taboos that like I think once a filmmaker hits them, it's kind of old hat, to like bring up those tropes again, like vomiting and pee and poo and necrophilia. Like they've kind of all been done and trying to do something fresh. And he's like, well, I don't want to have like overtly sexual things happen because like the original guinea pigs, there's nothing overtly sexual. It's a lot of torture, at least in the first two, it's like torture and dismemberment. But then like they become like weird science fiction stories, like kind of after that. But like Eric Fox just wanted to do something that was like balls to the wall, like sexually gory, violent, lots of nudity. There's going to be a few memorable scenes.
Yeah, we were told last night, and I was a little surprised that Biro's gonna push those limits, but maybe it's time. Right. It's a new generation for guinea pigs.
Like hearing about the orgy scene and
and that's like something to consider is that those old ones were made in the 80s, so at the time they were so far past the extreme it's not even funny. But nowadays, like, they're a little tame, especially the later ones. So
yeah,
I mean, you kind of have to go there now.
Yeah, I mean, because you look at like films like the Saw franchise and the Hostel films. While they're mainstream, like they really do got some good gore. Like they up the ante on that kind of stuff, and it just sucks that those films were the ones to take on like the moniker of torture porn. It's like, well, whoa, if you guys think this is torture porn, wait till you see this other shit, There's some weird shit out there.
There really is. Some people don't have no idea. So is Jesse going to be involved in all the new American Guinea Pig stuff?
No, just Chum Bucket,
Okay.
So, and, because we left LA, and so, Steve and Eric Fox are doing, Slaughter of the Swine out there. They're still there, but like we bought a house in, Central Illinois. So we just, I wanted to get away from the city and be out in the middle of the sticks, get away from that kind of stuff.
How'd you meet Jesse, by the way?
Oh, that's a funny story. Through a mutual friend, a filmmaker who's probably not the most controversial filmmaker, but definitely one that sparks a lot of stories for anyone who's met him. Um, but Jessie had him in a film. She was doing a short film, and she needed a special effects artist to work on it. And then, so the actor she had was Jim Van Beber, and Jim threw my name in the ring. And Jessie and I started talking. It didn't pan out to where I could make it out and do the effects for her, but like, I don't know, we just hit it off and just like kept in touch and started talking almost every other day. And then, eventually we got married and bought a house. So that's where we're at now. Cool. So now, and then in 2 or 3 weeks we head down to Florida to work on a film. So it's been 2 hard years because there hasn't been much effects work going on. Yeah, because of the pandemic or whatnot. But now, finally, now that they've released restrictions kind of across the globe, like everything's starting to pop and come back all at once for us. So we got a gig down in Orlando.
Cool. And is that union work, or are you guys just working in the independent area?
Independent, yeah.
Okay, cool.
And there's some pretty big films we can get on without being in the union. But I don't know. I don't have no desire to be in a union, because and here's the thing, like, union pay is fucking crazy great, but I know a lot of people who got in the union worked their asses off, but once they got in the union, being in the union doesn't guarantee you work. So when you do get work, you get paid, but you could maybe work on 1 film a year, and then you owe an absorbent amount just in the dues. And then if you don't keep up certain amount of hours, it's like you have
Sounds
to
frustrating.
The whole union thing, to get in the union thing, like I want to say you have to work like 200 hours. I think that was the last I checked, was you had to work 200 hours on sets, union sets, which is weird. That's the weird, like, catch-22. You have to put in so many hours of work on a union set, even though you're not in the union. But then, like, if you make like 198 by like in a year's time, by January, you got to start again. Like that's
messed up, because it sounds like a grind in the first place. So they're just trying to keep you out, I guess. So
yeah.
Cool. Well,
what films inspired you to make effects? Like, what were your films?
Fucking all of them growing up. No, I loved a lot of the Tom Savini stuff, like, because my parents started taking me to like the drive-in when I was 3 years old. I saw Hell Night on the big screen, and then like every weekend we'd either be at the drive-in, the movie theater, or renting VHS tapes. So it was always horror. So I was just gravitating to anything I could get my hands on, because I liked the special effects. And I kept asking my dad, like, how'd they do that? And his answer was always like, oh, well, special effects. Mm-hmm. And then I'm like, you can do that? You as an adult, you can do that for a living? So that's why I was like, I want to do that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like,
it was cool having a supportive dad, for sure, to let you like watch all that stuff. Because I had living with my mom, she lived where she worked at a movie rental place. And it was one of those places that you could have like a porn room in the back, so you can basically, like, any movie was pretty much fine there. And so I just rent like 5 movies a night. Me and my sister would try to like basically have competition to who could stay up the longest and watch the most, and try to watch basically all 5 movies all in one night. Type thing. Nice. Yeah. But we just watched so much stuff, and that was just basically what started everything. So having supportive parents definitely can help, or dement you, depending on how you look at it.
and looking back, like I was allowed to watch. I mean, because I could rent anything. Our video store that I could walk to, the 2 video stores, neither one of them had a smut room in the back, so I couldn't get porn, but like I could rent anything rated R. Like I saw films like I Spit on Your Grave and Last House on the Left at probably too young of an age,
right?
But it's weird, because I knew they were movies, I knew they were made by people, I knew they had actors in them, and all of it was pretend, because you'd always see the same actors again and again and again in other movies, so it's like I knew it wasn't real, like, even though the really harsh sexual stuff, but like yeah, it's weird. It didn't like affect me, like, because I understood what it was that I was watching. That it,
Yeah.
like, oh, this girl's not really getting raped. It
Mhm.
looks brutal, but I understand the mechanics of the filmmaking part of it. Like, I kind of figured that stuff out pretty early.
I think that's one thing that's important when you're like showing kids, younger people, horror films and rated R movies, is also showing them the special effects and the making of and all the behind the scenes stuff. That way they see that it's an artistic craft and it's
Yeah.
not anything to do with reality. And it sounds like
Yeah.
since you got so interested in effects at such a young age, that could have been what like differentiated the reality and the fake stuff for you.
Yeah. Like, I mean, as far as effects, like research stuff goes, like I'll look up like real photos and real videos just to see, like, how things look. And it's crazy because all the real stuff doesn't look that real. Like,
Mhm.
in movies, everything's done in a way that it's cinematic. Like, when people get shot, like there's not like
Mhm.
big blood splatters. It's like
A lot of it's
nothing
internal.
really happens.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
They just drop like a sack of rocks.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
Well, it's kind of like
real.
the same with like sex scenes in films and how Hollywood uses sex. Of like, sex ain't that glamorous. Sex is kind of weird, like in some aspects. So like, just like they don't put any of that stuff in there.
That's why I really like that movie. Do you guys remember that movie Three Kings? It was like a blockbuster movie, but there was they used like I think they used real corpses, but for the bullet penetration shots, they would actually show the bullets going into the body and doing all the internal damage. It was really cool. Um, but yeah.
Yeah, like I knew there were shots like that in it, but I've never seen it. It's like George Clooney, but like I know
Yeah.
of the film, but I've never sat down and
I
watched
feel
it.
like it's just those shots that are the only parts worth watching, but
Yeah, like I think that would be my interest, but like from story wise point, it just sounds like, oh, it's like a war movie or like a Desert Storm
it's a
like fighting.
war heist kind of thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whatever. Just those scenes. It's the only part worth watching. Are there any effects projects you're working on for other directors?
What can I talk about? The one project we're going down, it's more of a paranormal supernatural film, so I got to do like uh old age ghosty makeup, no real gore, but I think there's some blood in it. Like I think someone gets stabbed, but it's a bigger production down in Orlando, Florida. But that'll be fun.
Does it piss you off when you see these supernatural movies and they like CGI the makeup like onto all the people and stuff? It just makes me so angry.
Yeah.
It's like you could have hired a makeup person that would have looked so much better and
Yeah.
terrible.
So, are Maniac Entertainment and Autopsy Films, are they both your companies? Because I know Maniac Film has like other films with like half of it is yours.
Oh, yeah, no, that's Elmar Berger. He's my German producer out of Germany. Elmar Berger, he's so that's his company, but anything that he's involved with me doing films, like if he throws me some money, like, that's, you know, Autopsy Film, which is me, and then Manic Entertainment. So
Okay.
he funded 100 Tears, Fell, and Beyond Horror, our documentary.
Okay. Yeah, because I saw that like you had quite a bit, and he only came out with, like 3 or 4 things outside of your stuff. It seemed like.
Yeah. He's got a great, like, if you're into documentaries, he produced a documentary on Sam Peckinpah. I don't know if
Mhm.
you're familiar with like Sam Peckinpah films, but
No, but I
you
saw
know,
that listed. Yeah.
yeah,
Straw
pretty,
Dogs had some pretty nasty blood shots in there.
yeah. Peckinpah was famous for that, like really
Violent.
over the top,
What
like
was
violent
what
films.
was the western he made that was really bloody? I'm trying to remember. I'm drawing a blank. Oh. Then he,
Yeah, I'm drawing a blank.
Bring Me the Head of Alfredo Garcia, I think. Dang, you got a lot of credits though on your special effects. What are some of the ones that like you're like, I can't believe I'm doing this right now. Like I can't believe I'm on set right now. Or
Like in a good way or a bad way?
in a good way, like I can't believe
Oh,
I'm here, because there's some pretty big stuff on here. I mean, you did We Are Still Here and
yeah.
stuff like that.
Yeah,
Jacob's Wife.
Yeah, Jacob's Wife and We Are Still Here. Those are some big ones. We had a lot of fun on Jacob's Wife. I don't know if you got to see that yet. I mean, it's a horror, with like a slight comedy angle. It starts off pretty somber and quiet, but like it gets funny, but not like airplane ha funny. It's some pretty quirky humor underlying it, but like pretty bloody. Like when Barbara Crampton kills a couple people, like, yeah, Jesse and I did some crazy bloody days.
That's awesome.
Have you ever thought about redoing some of your early films now that you have like knowledge and ability for funding?
Yeah, well, I mean, the funding part is like, I don't know, that's the hardest part, really.
Yeah.
But I don't know, I like maybe Fell, if I could get my exact cast together for Fell and just shoot Fell with a budget and nice gear and equipment, is
Mhm.
my non-horror film, but I'd love to like kind of rework that one with a bigger thing, or maybe Rot would be a fun one.
Yeah, that would be cool.
You know.
Yeah, I rewatched Fell today just to kind of refresh it. It's definitely like a slow burn, but I like, the tone of it and everything that you did with it for sure.
Yeah, I wish more people like would seek that one out, but like I think it doesn't get talked about because it's not a gory film.
Mhm.
It's totally different. It's like a bleak, depressing drama,
Mhm.
psycho drama. But like I don't
Yeah,
know,
him just losing his mind essentially.
yeah. So I really like it, and I wish more people would like seek it out or hit me up, but maybe they don't know about it, and that could be on me. I don't really talk about it much or promote it much.
If budget wasn't an issue, what would be your big budget idea to do?
I have a script I've been trying to make for 20 years called Baby Doll: The Afterlife and Misadventures of a Dead Girl in the Mob. Like, to me, it's like it's my favorite thing I've written. It's really fun, and if I could if I could even just get like 50,000 or 100,000 budget, I don't care. But I just need some money for the effects that I got to do for it. But yeah, like I mean, that's a big one. If I could make this film happen.
So most likely, sometime in your life, you're gonna try to make that.
Yeah,
because you've been thinking about it for a while. So gotta get it out of your system sometime.
Right. When this things are working on so long, if I don't do it, then what have I been doing?
Yeah.
Yeah, I get that. What has been some of the hardest projects you've worked on?
Oh, there's been a couple. Mohawk was a tough one.
Oh, I want to see that.
It's got a couple like cool like little gore effects gags in it. Great cast. But that was a hard shoot. For different reasons. Like, I mean every shoot kind of you're facing challenges, but like this one particularly had like an obscene amount of challenges we were up against. And because it was a period piece and we're shooting like every day, like we had to drive like almost an hour to the middle of nowhere woods to film. That's where our base camp was. So we'd get up at the hotel and drive out to like the national forest to film. And so you'd have a drive in and a drive out, at the start and finish of your day. So that was hard. But then there was other departments that like, and this is in certain film things, like there's a lot of gray area and overlap where a lot of times you hear like, well, that's not my department, that's special effects. Well, that's not my department, that's special effects. And so everything just kept getting loaded on us, loaded. There was like wardrobe stuff, and I'm like, where I'm like, hey, no, that's a wardrobe issue. But all this stuff, but wardrobe like couldn't do certain things because they're not made to do effects. So there's a lot of like overlapping areas. And then like, of course, props, we're like, oh, well, that's not us, that's a special effect. I was like, well, no, technically it's a prop because, they hold it, but like we were getting just at the last minute, like, the props department's like, oh, hey, we need, a stunt knife. and they'd give me a knife like the night before, and literally I'd have to spend all night rather than sleeping to get up for the next day to like make a fake knife. And it's
Yeah.
using my materials because they're not paying for materials. They're not throwing us extra money. So there was a lot of stuff on Mohawk. I mean, it's an interesting film. It didn't really hit like, We Are Still Did, or We Are Still Here hit, or Jacob's Wife. But I mean, it's this a lot of the same production people.
Oh, nice.
Ted Gagan, and produced by Travis Stevens. So I've worked with him 4 times now, Travis Stevens.
Mm-hmm.
Have you ever thought about adding punk elements back into your films?
I kind of do. Well, that's why I want to do Baby Doll. Baby Doll's like still very much like, a punk rocker love story, kind of beyond the grave meets like a Henenlotter film. Like if it, like, how would I describe it? I don't know. Sid and Nancy meets The Sopranos meets like a Frank Henenlotter film.
Sounds good. Anything Henenlotter. I mean, Rock kind of reminded me of a Henenlotter film, a little bit. Just had that like crude, kind of like
dirty,
sleazy feel. Yeah.
Yeah.
I get it.
Have you ever been in a punk band?
Have I ever been on a what?
Have you ever been in a punk band or been involved with any music?
No. I was around like a lot of punk bands, like Billy Scam from the Scams is the lead in Rot. So I would film like a lot of their shows, like when they'd play with like the Subhumans and the Casualties, Blank 77. A lot of these bands would come through town and they'd stay at Punk House like whenever they'd be playing. So like Scams would be opening for them. And so, I was around it a lot, but like me, I can't even play the radio. So
I feel that.
But I appreciate like the punk rock culture. Like, I don't know. I was just, that was all my friends at the time. So when we made Rot, it's not a bunch of kids playing punk rock dress up like SLC punk. Like that's like, they're not punk rock, and you can tell. Like,
right.
Like, everyone who you see in the film, that's how they look on a regular basis. They, we didn't make anyone cut their hair into a mohawk or color it. It's just that's how everything was.
Yeah, you could kind of tell because it looks more like a uniform in SLC punk, where in Rot everyone kind of had their own individual look and stuff like that.
So that's a big reason why I never really got into SLC punk, because I saw right through it. I mean, there's some moments that are funny, but
it's good filmmaking. Like the filmmaking's pretty good. It's just they should have gotten like someone better on like, I guess would it be set direction or no, like art direction or something, like make it more punk, like more realistic. I don't know.
Oh, but and like, I don't think I appreciated or liked the film at the time, but like as time would go on, you see that movie's exactly fucking how it goes. Like, everyone's so like punk rock against the man. And then, all of those people all of a sudden became different people when they like became adults. I was like, holy shit, because a lot of people were like offended by it. Like, oh, well, I'm not going to turn into a yuppie. No, you did.
Yeah. Most of my friends became hippies. Like they went from punk to hippies. Like they realized that anarchy stands for sustainability, and they're like, "Oh, you mean I'm a hippie? Oh, okay."
Yeah.
Yeah, that's fine.
So what's the meaning of the tattoos on your arms?
Oh, I like. I don't know. I just wanted stripes. Can you see that? I don't know.
I actually can. They're focused now. That's awesome.
Yeah, I just wanted something different, and at the time I didn't see anyone that had them. I've now since run into people who have multiple stripes, so that's kind of bizarre and surreal. But like, I don't know, like I figured like an overall design rather than a bunch of like, hodgepodge pictures, that I'd have to figure out how to tie and connect together. So it was just like a simple overall design. I was just like, I'm just going to stripe my arms and that'll be me.
Did you get them like one stripe at a time, or?
No, I did split them up. I did 4 in one sitting, and that sucked ass so bad. That hurts so bad. My arm swelled up like a fucking accordion.
Mm.
And yeah, it was like after that, I was like, okay, well, I'll do 3 the next time. And then, this arm was looking naked, so I did like 2, 2, and 2. So now I've got an uneven number. I have a total of 13 stripes, which is cool. Lucky 13, but like, yeah, I've got 7 on one, 6 on the other. And I want to get more, but it's a matter of like, time, money, and pain tolerance.
Exactly. There's always like a lot of reasons to talk yourself out of a tattoo,
Oh, and I swear the older you get, like the more it hurts. Like when you're younger, they don't hurt so bad, but like when you're older, you're like, it didn't hurt so bad. And then you're like, fuck, that hurt.
Yeah.
Yeah, I kind of wonder about that because I've gotten some crazy areas like bottom of my foot, back of my head. I have some interesting areas for, but I think my tolerance is definitely becoming different.
Yeah. And solid fill work, man, boy, did I pick something that like I wasn't ready for.
I'm about to black out my whole left leg. That's gonna hurt.
Over here. Oh yeah. Yeah, I finally got like an Oingo Boingo tattoo, and I was like, oh, that's what a normal tattoo feels like, where they, kind of do an outline and do a little bit of shading color around the edges to make it like, have pretty depth and, but like, yeah, black solid fill lines, like, fuck me, dude. That was, yeah.
Yeah, sometimes the shading part could be like the easiest part. Depends on the area.
I always like the shading the best, but it depends.
Yeah, like the shading in the back of my head was like fuck off. Like that was when I was like done. The outline was fine, and then
or on your spine is really bad.
Yeah. My sternum sucked. But yeah, and you have gauges too. Are you used to have gauges? Because it seems like you have kind of like the whole.
Oh yeah, I used to. They've been out for a while, like a couple years. I gotta buy more, but I was gauged up to triple-aught. What is that?
000? Or
triple zero?
Like, there's a 000. There's a 000, then the next up, I forget what it's called, but it's not 000.
Yeah, it's just under half inch. Whatever.
Okay.
I don't know.
Yeah, I was at 1 inch for a while, and I gave up, and now my ears look like cat buttholes. I'm fine with it.
Yeah. So that's what I'm stuck with. I mean, I thought about like, I just got to buy more jewelry, but it's like, it's like one of those things where I'm like, fucked. Do I want to spend that much money on jewelry right now? Like, especially the last 2 years, fucking every dollar counts. It's like, okay, I need gas to go somewhere, I need food, and no work coming in, film work.
So you mentioned when I was on the phone that you were doing a podcast. Like, what is that all about?
Yeah. So like outside of like the horror movie stuff, the other big thing I'm super fascinated in is like, I'm a huge conspiracy nerd.
Oh, cool.
I don't necessarily believe everything, but like, that I read, but
the concepts of them.
Yeah, I love digging into conspiracy theories, like why people believe certain things or how certain things come about. And there's some crazy shit in there that actually, did come true. Like we have like Project MK Ultra, like, which is really fucked up when you look in it and you're like, oh, our own government did that to our people. Like, fuck.
Yeah.
I mean, but like UFOs, like I don't personally believe in aliens. Like I'd like to, I just don't see enough proof that convinces me, but is a lot of the UFO cover up really just a cover up for like technology? Like did we get thrown a story about aliens so people go down these rabbit holes looking away from like, oh, here's the real technology that we're really working on, because we didn't find out like what the stealth bomber until the 80s, but they had that built and functioning in the 50s. So it was like 30 years before like we ever knew about that as the public,
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know. So
you mentioned
that's
MK. You mentioned MK Ultra. Is that a reference to your? Is that where you got your mixtape name from?
Oh yeah. Because yeah, totally borrowed heavily and just kind of influenced. Because a lot of stuff with like the MK Ultra program. Do you know about this?
Not really, to be honest. I mean, I follow some conspiracy theories, but I
Oh.
like to keep my sanity in some
This
aspects. So I
isn't
don't believe
conspiracy theory. This is like a real
Oh,
thing.
maybe I have.
Yeah.
I just haven't heard the reference to it. or I've
There's
heard
some
references
conspiracy
to it.
theories around it, but it's all mostly factual.
Mhm.
Yeah, they were taking people like you know, and it extended beyond mental patients and like prison people. Like, oh, you're in prison, so we're just gonna fucking do these weird fucking experiments on you, where they'd lock them up in like chambers and like give them high doses of LSD and then play them like subliminal messages on a loop and just try and like break people's minds down because they were really trying to make like Manchurian candidates, someone they could control their mind, make them be like an assassin or something.
Like the Minister of Goats type thing.
Yeah, yeah. Yeah, that gets kind of, yeah, that parlays into some of like, yeah, the stuff. But yeah, they got busted doing it. That like, oh shit, you were doing this on unsuspecting people. Like they would like, oh hey, like come to this clinic for help, and then they just do this to these people.
Yeah.
And this was and you know, I mean, there was other places connected to it, but the main place was in Canada, you know, but it was all run by like, you know, US government agencies in Canada.
Weird.
But yeah, like my mixtape, but you know, I mean, it's first and foremost, it's called MK because Marcus Cook.
Yeah.
And then I just called it Ultra Mix because I'm like, oh, that's like a fun like play on words.
Yeah, I thought
because
that was cool.
and so like that's why everything's in there like hypnotic suggestions and just
Well,
just
it actually makes more sense.
like insanity. Yeah.
Yeah, it actually makes more of a meaning behind them now, which is actually like hearing that I was like, huh, okay, that makes a lot more sense.
You know, I figured I'd give my like mixtapes like a fun theme, you know, because a lot of people's just like mixtapes is like, oh, here's some like weird sex acts and puking and vomiting and shit, and you know, I'm like, it's just, I mean, it's, you know, I mean, it is what it is. It's a mixtape, but I figured I'd give mine something that set it aside, you know, and
No, I
don't like to delve into the like the fucked up porn because like every other mixtape has fucked up porn. You know, make mine a little more fun.
What's the weirdest films in your collection that you have?
Oh shit. Probably anything by Rinse Dream. Do you know his films? Dr. Caligari, 1990. He did a porn called Cafe Flesh.
Oh, I love Cafe Flesh. Yeah.
Yeah. And Night Dreams, that was another weird porn he did. I used some clips. You know, I mean, I like, and when I say weird porn, like, really weird.
Did he do Dr. Caligula, or was that him as well?
Dr. Caligari, yeah.
Oh, Dr. Caligari, sorry. Yeah.
Caligula.
Yeah.
That's a whole other thing.
Well, then we should do a Dr. Caligula.
That'd be sick.
Do like a reference to that. Yeah. Actually, I thought about doing like a reference to Cafe, but doing Cafe Flesh and Gore, but kind of doing like a rip off of like porn gore, but kind of thing.
Oh yeah, no, that'd be fun. Oh, so yeah, in one of the groups, somebody brought up Sweatshop, which was a film like I worked on in Texas, and its origins, the way it started out, was it was going to be a splatter porno, like a hardcore horror movie porn. And whatever happened with the company that was going to make it, and I was attached to the porn company doing it, but then like it changed hands and got into the hands of a friend, Stacy Davison, who's a director in Texas, and then he wound up making it, just reworking it into like a horror movie where a bunch of ravers, you know, get smushed by this guy with a giant anvil on a pipe.
I think I've seen the cover for that.
Oh, it's a fun one. I mean, it's, you know, all the characters are like super annoying and cringy bad, you know, but
like gutter balls,
you know,
or something.
But it's like exactly like gutter balls. Well, every character is like a shitty asshole. But like, you know, but then it's fun to watch them get dispatched because like, you know, the killer in the film is the Beast. He's like got like animal furs, a fucking welder's mask on and an anvil on a pipe, and he just like crushes people.
That's
Like,
dope.
so if you've ever wanted to watch a movie where a bunch of dumb like punk goth ravers get smushed, it's the film.
Okay, I might watch that tonight. That sounds good.
It's not highbrow cinema, but I mean, there's some fun. We did some fun effects gags in it.
That sounds great.
So how far along is MK Ultra 4?
Oh, it's been slow going, trying to like tailor this one, and I don't know. I'm trying to figure out how do I like up my game. I don't know, because like, obviously I'm like, there's some other new mixtape that's trying to go toe to toe with. I don't know. I don't even want to say it because I don't even want to give it like any kind of promotion. The worst mixtape that's out there. I don't want to give it any kind of promotion because I don't want people, like, if they don't know about it, they shouldn't look for it. But you know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. But like, there's someone else trying to like give that a run for its money, and I'm like, I don't want to do that kind of stuff,
Yeah, so you might just pull out of the whole thing.
Yeah, I think I may do this one, try and up, like how do I outdo myself without going into that kind of
yeah, I get that. Like because there's some people that can do it right. Like Comfort Boulevard does a pretty good job about like being controversial, but not too over the top, where they're trying to like completely offend everybody. It's still funny. But then the ones that we don't want to talk about, like that's the stuff that's just kind of like ruined the name for mixtapes, and unfortunately that's just where we're at. So
the internet iceberg. I'm like, it's like, the mixtape internet iceberg. It's like, I'm actually thankful that mine didn't get included, because there's some other stuff that got included in that I don't think should be with that kind of stuff,
Well, there's some great ones that I'm glad that didn't get mentioned, like Affliction, and I don't know. But
it's not my scene. I don't really pay attention to it anymore, but I really want to see the MK Ultra mixes because I've heard that they're actually creative and.
Oh yeah, like you haven't seen them yet?
No,
I can
not
send
yet.
you some.
I have to borrow them from Christian because he owns all your stuff, and
thank you again for all that you sent me. By the way, I've given you thank you, but it's awesome for how much you just kind of like send to your fans.
Oh yeah, no problem. I'm glad you like it, at least. Like it would suck if I sent it to you and you're like, well, that sucked.
Send it back. No, it's funny. So do you still get people sending you random clips, by the way, for like clown porn or anything for the mixtapes? Or
on rare occasions, sometimes someone will find just something that's so batshit, and then like I'll just laugh for like fucking hours over some dumb shit, and so I gotta save it. But if you ever find anything more, like you sent me 3 discs full of shit. I mean, did
you get through a lot of them, or?
Oh yeah.
Oh, cool. Yeah, the clown porn stuff and some of the other things I think you would appreciate. The bimbo cheerleaders from outer space is one of my fucking favorite porns of all time.
Yeah. Oh my god, somebody posted in one of the VHS chat groups, like, a collection of like weird fucked up porn, and they actually had the VHS of that, and I was like, but I think they wanted like a couple $100 for it.
Oh, I bet. Like, I don't bet. I've seen posters go for about that price, so it's like like, yeah. No, for sure. That one's a good one. It's funny.
Are you still working on 200 Tears?
No. Like, I think it's just gonna have to hang that one up. There's a lot of high hopes for time in there, but like we tried to do a Kickstarter and couldn't even raise 15,000. This is, and then I mean it sucks because then I see like these films like what is it, Terrifier 2, like they raised like an insane amount of money.
Yeah,
and I like
100 Tears better than Terrifier, but
Yeah.
It just doesn't reach the same audience, I guess, because of Netflix.
That battle between the two does sound funny, though. That remember the interviewer talking about that.
Oh,
It's like, get the Terrifier against that guy.
Oh,
Yeah, he would kick his ass. They kick the Terrifier's ass for sure.
oh yeah.
Yeah, like I mean, I respect the filmmaker because he's also an effects artist directing. So like he's doing all of his own effects. So I'm like I totally understand where he's at. Like for me, the character of Art the Clown, I'm just like, it's to me he's a haunt clown, and that's not scary to me. As soon as a clown is like creepy and on prosthetics, or I'm like it's not as creepy. Like
Yeah,
I like Gertie because Gertie's a normal guy, but you don't know what's under there.
It reminds me of like Clown House. I think it's Clown House, where they have like the guys that escape from the psycho ward, and they basically kill all the clowns that are in the circus and then torture all the kids.
Yeah.
Like that one's awesome. Like clowns are just creepy as all fuck because they're all like escape.
They're human people, but you don't know what kind of fucked up person's under. Like because they're painted with a smile, but that doesn't mean like they're a happy person. I mean. So like that's the direction I wanted to go with Gertie the Clown. But like, yeah, Art the Clown is like, he's in a prosthetic. He just looks like a haunt clown, like from a haunted house. I'm like,
The only similarity I would see between the two is just the amount of gore. But yours had
black and white and gore. Yeah, black and white and red all over.
Yeah, yours had a lot more backstory and detective work, where Terrifier was like kind of just, but yeah, it was good gore and stuff. So I definitely give props to that one. So what's up with the Blu-ray for 100 Tears? What are you going to be doing with that?
Soon. I mean, outside of it being on Blu-ray, I don't know of what else I can cut into it. Extras. Maybe I can get an interview with Joe Davison and maybe track down some of the cast, maybe talk to Gertie, like, hey, like, 15 years later, but yeah, I don't know. Hopefully, Stephen Biro's got a huge list of shit he's got to get through first before 100 Tears is even on the docket.
Well, it's probably, I feel like it's been enough time that it'll sell a few copies because people probably want to update their collection or buy it again because right now it's on Tubi, so anyone that doesn't own it has to watch it on.
Oh yeah, watch it with commercials. But like it's really like I've been seeing a lot of people like, oh shit, I just watched your film on Tubi. This is awesome, and I'm like, well, at least it's being watched, Yeah,
that's where I saw it honestly, and
because I think Bloodshot's like too extreme for Tubi, so I don't think Bloodshot's on Tubi.
Yeah.
Like I think Song of Solomon's on there.
Yeah, that's where I saw that one too.
Bouquet and Bloodshot are a little too much for Tubi found their limit, They're like, no.
So I was watching the Day of the Dead interview, and you're hinting about a German producer that you were possibly working with. What was that producer? Did that end up going through, or?
Oh yeah, that'd be Elmar. Which was for this? Yeah, Elmar is my German producer, Elmar Berger.
Okay. That's what that is. Okay, because I was like 2 years ago, and I was just like, it was a long interview, but it was when Beyond Horror was just getting premiered.
Oh yeah.
Because you did Beyond Horror first, like kind of like in parts, right? Because you did part of the interviews, showed that, and then did more interviews, and then showed that, right?
Yeah, because we just happened to luck out and get a really good screening, which a lot of filmmakers don't get that. Like when at a film festival, like you have to submit. And so we submitted even though the film wasn't done. We're like, okay, well, this is kind of like a work in progress. So like, just do it. And so like it was the first 80 minutes. But they're like, no, we want to show this. And I'm like, okay, well, that's a good thing. So I sent it, finished it, and we got in. Like, I mean, there was like, we were on that like narrow margin, like we want this, but it's got to be like finished. So I made a finished 80-minute version. But like we were still like a year into like, you know, filming interviews, you know. And so like, yeah, like, you know, but at least that got our foot in the door and screened at a nice prestigious film festival. And then that helped us gain like some other interviews that we wouldn't have been able to get.
Okay, cool.
So when's the release of Beyond Horror?
We're still working on that.
Okay, because I really want that movie. It was great. Thank you so much for screening it too, like letting us all get a peek at it.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, for sure. I appreciate that for sure.
Yeah.
So I got a question. Everyone wants to know, how's Gutterballs 2 going?
It's been a slow process, and here's like the real brass tacks. And it may get too personal, but been a hard, weird 2 years. Like, you know, I don't want to say I've been like depressed, because I don't know, I don't feel depressed, but it's not having work coming in like it normally does, like, has really affected me. And then like I think I became overwhelmed, like, because I'm trying to learn a brand new computer, brand new software, because Gutterballs, all the footage won't work on my Mac. I've got my Mac that's like 15 years old, and that's what I added on. But now I've got my PC, and I don't know fucking shit about PCs, let alone like a different editing program. I always cut on Final Cut Pro, and I'm switching over to Adobe, and it's like learning an alien language. And I think I've felt like so fucking overwhelmed the past like year that I just try and do some stuff, and then I give up. I'm like, but I don't know, like Steve and I have been talking, and I'm like trying to like, okay, I gotta switch over and like learn this program. And so it's going good now. We're like almost done, but like, yeah, it was a bad, weird, rough year, and I didn't get hardly much on focus that I wanted to, you know.
It sounded like an uphill battle too, collecting all the materials, because I was like kind of interjecting in some of the forums when you were talking to other people, and I'd see you randomly just pop up into a conversation. Wait, you have that footage? Send it my way, please. Yeah. And I'm like,
yeah,
oh,
and
damn.
no one ever, I mean, yeah, I'm sure there's more out there, and no one ever got back to me. There was Thomas Townsend, who like apparently had a cut, or, you know, a version. Like, I don't know what the original soundtrack is. My guy, Biztronics, he's an amazing like fucking musician out of Australia. He's working on all the soundtrack, and it's fucking awesome. It's so in vibe with everything like from the original film. So that's helping. Like having a good soundtrack helps. But like, yeah, like, I mean, they sent me a hard drive once, they transferred everything over, and then like I got the hard drive, and then I was like, well, I'm not seeing the rest of the stuff you're talking about. And it wasn't until almost like a year later that I got the rest of the footage. I was like, oh, well, here's all the shit that wasn't on the hard drive in the first place. You know, because I was just like looking at stuff, and I'm like, I don't know what I can do to make this better. And then it turns out I was missing footage. But yeah, now that I think I have everything, but I still hear some people like, well, I've got this cut of it. And I'm like, and trying to make it, and like, you know, not, you know, I don't want to shit on Ryan, but you know, he was a nice guy, very tragic, but like this film isn't Gutterballs 1. It's totally different.
We both
how different is it to Many Dead New Girls?
See, I haven't seen that cut, but I think a lot of what's on this is Dead Nude Girls, because I guess Ryan dressed up.
Do you need a copy of that cut? Because I can send you a file if you want to see it.
Yeah, please. So okay. I know what the difference is. Like what's Gutterballs and what's Dead Nude Girls.
Okay, I can send you that. I have actually I was just going through that, and it's crazy because it even has the Good Wife. on there, which I was like, holy shit, I have not. And so I got to watch The Good Wife before the interview, and I was like, oh shit, I got to see the profane, because that's what's going to be in profane.
Oh, wait till you guys
shit.
see it. Like, I know that film's like over 11 years old now. Like, and that's how long, many holdups. But like, yeah, Jesse and I have seen like the cut. There's a lot of problems. A lot of it has to do with rights. A lot of it, I mean, because you're dealing with multiple people. So there's a lot of rights getting
Ryan
involved.
always used
to get
other
everything
people's
to go
music.
up. I mean, but yeah, there's a lot of what's holding it up isn't like the fact that, I mean, because it's done for all intents and purposes. Like, you know, Jesse and I seen this 2 years ago, and it's so fucking good,
It is good.
you know. But like, it's just a matter of getting through the next couple roadblocks to get it done and out. I don't know if Steve talked much about like that or.
Yeah.
A little bit. He did get into a little bit of it.
So you're
because it's a lot of footage,
Profane
right? It's like
Exhibit
3
as well?
hours worth of like extra footage. Sorry, go ahead.
I was saying you're editing Profane Exhibit as well?
No, not me. No, that's David Hood.
Okay.
Yeah, I'm like, I've seen the cut, you know, but like, yeah, I don't want to, I don't want to edit any more stuff.
Yeah.
I like editing my own films. There's a lot more control, you know, I think.
Yeah, because how much hours of raw footage is there in Gutterballs 2?
Oh, it's got to be, and they take a lot of takes, unnecessary takes after takes of the same thing with nothing changing.
Do you think there was something going on with Ryan's like his cognitive ability?
Yeah, there's definitely some weird stuff you can see, and none of us knew, you know.
Mm-hmm.
Until like one day, and like, you know, his wife Megan didn't know. It's just like one day, I guess he like passed out and like walking somewhere. So I don't know the full story, but like he had like just blacked out, and they, you know, didn't know where he went. And then an ambulance or somebody found him and called an ambulance, and that's how they found out he had a brain tumor.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and like his personality really started shifting, like towards the, you know, before that moment happened that you knew, like, oh, he's got a brain tumor, you know. His personality started getting weird, you know.
Yeah, he like turned on me randomly. Like he sent me Gutterballs 2 and The Good Wife, and he was talking about having me work on Gutterballs 3 with him and all this stuff, and then all of a sudden like never talked to me again and blocked me, and I was like, oh no.
Yeah. So yeah, I mean, so I try not to hold anything, you know, against him, because, you know, he had no control over that.
Yeah.
I do know after his surgery, I talked to him once, and he couldn't watch horror movies like anymore. It's like they affected him. Like he's like, I can't watch this. I can't see this. I don't want to think about it.
Yeah. Yeah, he was on like some positive vibes. Like he was like not really listening to metal and stuff like that as much anymore, and just like kind of going down this different path. And I was like, oh, he was all skinny and stuff. It just looked like a different dude. But I mean, he was still nice and then he just turned on me, and I was like, but I got it because I have a brain tumor as well. And we talked a lot about it beforehand, and I knew at any point anything could happen. And whether that be the way he was treating me or talking to me, or if he just passed, which he did, and rest in peace.
Yeah.
Rest in peace, Ryan.
Yeah, it's unfortunate.
So we're trying to rescue it, and, you know, it's been a lot. I mean, you know, and then and a lot of that's been on me. Like, you know, it's just you know, but it's been a weird fucking year, and I can't, like, you know, I mean, we all can agree, like, the two years has been weird for everyone, right?
Yeah, for sure.
So, but hopefully we're coming out of it and things are getting back to normal. So like I'm in a better headspace now, trying to like edit and you know, get things going. But yeah, I mean, that was the big holdup. It's not on Steve. I mean, I'm sure people are going to be like, Oh well, Steve's fucking holding this up, but really it's all on me because it's all the ball's in my court, you know.
So getting into Beyond Horror again, are you planning on touring your diversities with it, like you were talking about?
Yeah, we're hoping to. We got the the extended cut done, and it's now at 2 hours and 8 minutes. So yeah, we played a couple, then the world shut down, and then now that we got the full cut after like the 80-minute cut has been out for like 2 years, but now we got the 2 hour 8 minute cut. Like we'd like to play other theaters and universities. Like I think it's like, I don't know, an educational film. It was interesting because like we'd play this film at a couple film festivals that Jesse and I got to attend, and there was like people. I'm looking around because that's my thing, is I'm like, who's not gonna make it? Who's not gonna make it through? And then there was like you'd spot like an old couple, and you're like, oh, they're like in their 70s. They're not gonna sit through this, and they would. And then they come up with so many questions after the show. They'd pull Jesse and I aside, and they're just like, they were so fascinated by it. Like, but but it's funny. Like we think like, oh, those are old people. We don't want them knowing.
Well, it's
like,
how you pass the information. If you pass it in an educational way, then they might listen.
Yeah. It's almost like serial killer documentaries. People don't actually want to see like real death, but they like it when it's put into like a documentary format.
So is there going to be a third cut then that's like the edited version that you can stream that's a little bit more censored? And
yeah, that's something we've been talking about doing, because streaming's such a complicated issue. We may have to cut a lot of clips that we use because we don't have the rights to them, and the fair rights use, because like on YouTube right now you could take any clip of any fucking movie you want, and if we're talking about it critically, breaking it down, discussing how they did like a Marvel movie, like, oh, look at this shot, and here's this colored lighting, and here's the negative space, and look at how they did this. You can use any fucking clip you want on YouTube, but when it's streaming, some of those rules are changing because there's a lot of people like making documentaries, so they're like cracking down on like the rules of but some of these films, they're like older films. It's not like we're using like Marvel or Disney films, and even if we have like an okay from like a director, like the what is it, the streaming services or the aggregators to the streaming services, there's always middlemen, like we don't get to just go to Netflix or go to Hulu, or we can't. I mean, there's like people who you have to go through to set stuff like that up. So but like, yeah, they're just like, they don't want to mess with it. It's too messy of paperwork that they'd have to be involved with, so they're like, oh no, we don't want this. And of course, like subject matter, like, yeah, our cut it's too X-rated, so a lot of that would have to change. If that makes sense.
But sometimes it's pretty surprising what Shudder can put up, even Netflix sometimes. So I mean, like if you've ever seen the documentary "Don't Fuck with Cats,"
I was surprised on that one, to be honest. That was fucked up for Netflix. Like,
yeah, we didn't even make it through the first 5 minutes, and
it was fucked up. They showed a lot.
They showed more than they should have for a fucking documentary.
I think so too. And it's interesting.
It was a lot. It was pretty much. They might as well showed the whole Luca Minata fucking tape. Like,
yeah. But don't show Marcus Cook's special effects. That will just.
That's too much for people.
Mind blown. Yeah. But you are the master of those realistic, gory, chunky body parts getting. I mean, even in your old stuff, I was watching Bad Blood, and I was just like, even there wasn't really that much at this time where there was like, limbs getting cut off and blood spraying across the room, stuff like that.
It's funny because so some of this, it seems like you're trying to do a timepiece, but because you're trying to do like a time kind of like thing. Like, you feel that got lost with making that, of like the whole time travel and being slightly a timepiece and not.
Yeah. I mean, like, are you talking about the storyline?
Yeah, the storyline.
Oh, yeah. No, I mean, because it took us like almost like 4 or 5 years to shoot the whole thing. Like, there was pieces that we shot with different actors and reshot them again with different actors and reshot them again with different actors. So there was like there was an original storyline, and then it was like, then there was, the stuff we shot at the end was just to tie these bits and pieces that worked back
Mhm.
together again.
Yeah.
So that was a very like good learning experience, because like, yeah, I don't know what the fuck I'm doing trying to make a feature film.
Yeah.
But that taught me a lot. Like that.
No, I mean, for what it was, for low budget, I think you did a really good job. Like the acting was, pretty good for what it was, and some I thought it was great. I mean,
I love
I
the violence in there was really good. It was just like,
Yeah.
it really stuck out. I wasn't expecting that much violence, and it was cool.
oh yeah, and some of the gore in it was
Super
actually really
early.
good. It was like it would come out of nowhere. You're like, wow, that's really fucking cool. So
It must make you kind of proud to be like, to be able to have that badge of like being an SOV director at one point too. Like you
Mhm.
were at that time.
Oh yeah, like and it's like, yeah, I was kind of coming into the shot on video era kind of late. I mean, but I'd been already working on my own stuff before I even knew there was a whole.
Yeah. Like White Massacre. And
Yeah, I didn't. Yeah, when I was shooting White Massacre and Lunch Meat, I had no idea any of this other films existed. It wasn't until high school that I really started to like, oh, wait a minute, there's this whole genre of shot on VHS movies. And so I started reaching out to other directors and like, communicating with them. And that's like, because I was doing my own thing, but I needed some way to like, how do I let other people know that I'm out there, to do effects? And yeah, just reaching out to other filmmakers shooting on video, even though they have like bigger budgets. I was like, well, maybe they'll still talk to me. It's not like trying to talk to Hollywood people. Like,
Mhm.
these are still like real people who like deal with the same problems you're dealing with, and they're like, could help you out. And yeah, it was. But I had no idea. I was coming into that as that was kind of the ending switch over into digital media. Which
Yeah.
at this point now, every film you watch is all digital. It's not. There's no film in anything anymore.
I mean, are you one of the people that consider Mini DV as SOV?
Yeah. I because it's a tape. Mini DV, I still consider that SOV era.
Yeah.
It
It still has that look.
Camcorders, I mean, you're digital now.
Yeah. Were you planning on making any other documentaries?
Oh yeah. Actually, yeah. Jesse and I have other documentaries we're working on. They're like way bigger projects, so it's probably going to take a few years. But like, the first one we're working on is a documentary on the history and origins of the devil and the rise of where Satanism comes from and what modern Satanism means.
Right, like the Temple of Satan versus like the Church of Satan and all that stuff. Like
Yeah. Church of Satan, the Satanic Temple, like
the Satanic Temple. That's what it is.
Yeah.
We actually had one of the
I
biggest.
actually love the Satanic Temple. That all those people are like, they're fucking awesome. Like I give kudos to all those fucking guys.
Yeah.
We actually had one of the biggest satanic ritual abuse cases known in the country in our city. It was the Sheriff Ingram ritual abuse case where they wrote that book. I think there was a book called Michelle Remembers about planting memories in people's heads about satanic ritual abuse. And these two daughters convinced their father that he had been ritually abusing them with a cult, so he went to a mental institution.
Holy
crazy.
shit.
Yeah. So
where's that at? Where do you live?
that's in Olympia. That's a really cool case. I'll send it to you.
So has there been any films that have kind of messed you up mentally?
Oh, there's like, some of my favorite films are bleak, depressing films. Two fucking excellent films. What? More than two. Threads. Have you seen Threads?
Yeah, the one about if the Cold War really happened.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Threads
that
is a
one
good
was
one.
cool.
Come and See and the Chekist.
Yeah, Come and See is cool. Well, Come and See is not really a horror. It's like a whole war,
yeah.
like really
It's just,
fucked up.
I mean, but it's horrible stuff. Like it's war atrocities, but like it's yeah, it's not a horror film, but it's a fucked up film. It's a heavy film.
No, actually, I've heard a lot about it. I haven't gotten around to seeing it, but I it's on my list of stuff to check out. I know a lot about it.
They're never going to make another film like that again. Like that style of filmmaking. Like,
I mean, when there's films like that. Yeah.
We're never going to get another Caligula.
Or Holy Mountain or like.
Or Holy Mountain. Or Salon Kitty. Like these films aren't ever going to exist anymore.
I love that you revere Caligula because I actually think Caligula is a really entertaining movie.
Oh, it's a great film.
It's amazing.
Absolutely standing.
Tinto Brass, and his other films, like Salon Kitty is another one I really love. But like I mean, we're just never gonna get those kinds of films, and you know, a lot of people don't know who Tinto Brass is. Those are great films. We're never gonna get those again. We're never gonna get like films like God, what else?
Well, there's tons like Sweet Movie and like just like this.
Oh yeah, Sweet Movie. We're never gonna get another Singapore Sling.
Oh yeah. There's tons of classics that are just like.
Say what? Say what? Oh, Jesse said we're never gonna get those until she makes them.
Oh.
Cool.
Nice.
Yeah,
we got to have her on. I feel like she's got a lot to say.
They want to have you on. She's available after Friday.
Oh, okay.
Cool.
Friday is my birthday, so
yeah.
We have a little bit. I'm interviewing Felicia Fisher, and then I have Scott Schirmer, and then so I got some interviews that like to come up. But I'm so stoked for Scott Schirmer. I'm so fucking stoked for Scott Schirmer.
Yeah. I loved Sound. I loved. He's got some.
Did you see the Bad Man?
Plank Face, Bad Man.
Oh, Plank Face is great.
I still got to see Plank Face. It looks amazing.
Plank Face. You need to watch that one.
He hasn't done anything in a while, but like, I love like 4 or 5 of his films. What's he done? Bad Man.
Yeah. Any questions you can help me with, please?
Harvest
Lake was cool.
Found and
I haven't seen Harvest Lake actually. I think that's the only one.
It's like
so weird.
It's like teenage,
very Lovecraftian
American version of tentacle porn.
I'm
like softcore tentacle porn.
Mm-hmm.
I'm starting to seal, so I need to go pee. I'll be back.
Okay.
He broke the seal. I don't think we'll be too much longer. Like,
are there any films that have just messed you up and just like you couldn't watch, like you basically had to turn off, like it was too much for you?
I mean, I've definitely found some films that are like, whoa, that's fucking intense, but nothing that I found too much. You know, I mean, and this is kind of a downside to being a filmmaker because you're constantly watching and analyzing things. I mean, there's a lot of great films I have a lot of respect for, but like when you watch films, you're like breaking them down and analyzing how they do this, how they do that, like how they achieve this, you know, what was the reason behind that? So like, I mean, there's some really bleak, dark, heavy films, but like I forget to get caught up in the magic because I'm breaking them down, like from an analytical point of view. Yeah, so it's a hard thing, but occasionally a film will get through where I let all that stuff go, and then like this film is fucked up.
What was the last one that you can remember?
The Chekist.
I haven't heard that.
Oh, it's another World War II like film. It's about the communists and what they were doing, like I mean, the same thing the Germans were doing, the Nazis, like just come and see and Chekist are probably two of my.
I've seen the name. I've seen. I'm seeing the movie title or the cover. Like it's one of the other ones that's like in that realm too. Yeah, it seems really cool.
Yeah. Sorry, like my DVD collection's all right above here, which you can't see. But I'm like I've got Chekist. I'll show you the cover. Like anyone, I think there's only bootlegs out about this film. Like I've got a legit copy, but if you can find this copy, sometimes it's on YouTube. But I don't think anyone's gonna ever be able to put this out. You know, so if you do find it on YouTube and it has subtitles, watch it because I think it's still going to be a long time before you're going to get it.
Does your DVD have the subtitles?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
It's a Swiss.
We'll talk later.
Yeah.
So I kind of wanted to go into your opinions and kind of like the state of things. So like, what do you think of the state of extreme horror in comparison to what it used to be?
I think it goes through stages, and you know, I think maybe we hit like a big peak stage and it's gonna hit a lull, but like I think something is gonna hit, whether it's I don't know, something we come up with like at Unearthed or someone else comes up with like Marion Dora, like, you know, but it's a lot of the same players, you know. I think coming on to the playground that I think worth note of keeping an eye on is Jonathan Doe and
100%.
Lisa Fisher. Like keep an eye on them because I think there's a lot of brewing and bubbling that's gonna surface soon with those guys.
Yeah, I'm stoked. I actually ended up putting on the $400 for the executive producer spot. Awesome. Yeah, so I'm stoked. I'm really excited for the project.
Was like the first thing I've seen in a long time that was actually kind of nasty. Like
it was
like just really like I kind of got caught up in it after a while because like usually those types of movies, I'm just like
they just feel hokey. They feel hokey, and I think Jonathan's someone who can get behind it.
Yeah,
and doesn't feel like.
Well, they're a great tribute and a montage to it, and it's like, and it's good tribute. It's like somebody that actually understands it tribute versus somebody just trying to make money off of it tribute, and that's like the kind of like the big difference in a lot of people that have money and backing to a lot of these projects, and that's why indie horror sometimes does better because they actually like have a lot more passion in the story because they have to because they don't have budget. So they have to kind of make something completely fucking original and different and shocking. So it's kind of like that.
And it's hard. It's hard to come up with something like, what are you gonna? I mean, that was a big thing with like, in Beyond Horrors, like what's next? What's going to be coming down the pike? I mean, because like in the past 20 years, everything's gone stagnant. Have you noticed that? Like you had the 60s or you had the 50s that were different from the 40s. The 60s were different from the 50s. The 70s were different from the 60s. The 80s were different from the 70s. 80s and 90s were different. And then it stops.
Yeah.
And we really didn't move on. Like the last of the shock rockers, like were from that era. Like G.G. Allen and the Mentors. Marilyn Manson. Is Marilyn Manson our last like shock person?
Yeah, but he's done. He's canceled. Unfortunately. So
I mean, but that's what I'm saying. It's like but who's come after that? What do we got?
Yeah.
Island Boys? Like that's no. Like holy shit. What do we have?
That's the thing is shocking stuff has gone very underground now. It's
we don't have that.
I mean, not in America. I mean, there's like French, extremists still, and there's definitely some people, but like, and there's definitely, Japanese extremists that are still very alive. But yeah, on the American side, it's like, it's very much into the extreme indie horror, and that's, Daniel Valiant is like
none of it's breaching. Like, I think maybe like, White Gardenia is. Pushing some boundaries. That's
I mean, because that's a lot of commitment to cut off your own finger. I don't care who the fuck you are. That's commitment.
No, he's Yeah, like I mean, how do you compete with that? Like,
Mhm.
but like I think that's the closest we're gonna come. You
Mhm.
know, I don't know. I mean, well, maybe Lucifer Valentine and Marion Dor are the Underground's
But
generation.
even then, I feel like in a lot of ways, like they might just die off, and like we might not see a single another movie from Lucifer. He might be
Yeah,
done, you know.
Oh, just
Um,
change his name. Change his name, make money somewhere else.
maybe
yeah.
that's the good thing about when you become like an a name like a name outside of yourself is you kind of recreate yourself pretty easily.
Cool. And it's so funny. So many people think they've figured out who he is. They're like some people think they got it, but they don't. They don't know. Like,
Mhm.
I
you
actually
know,
figured out who it
there's
was pretty recently, and it was Donald Trump.
there's some people trying
I
to out
believe
him, and
Q,
they're giving
Q.
some name to some other like porn star. I don't know. Like they were naming the wrong person. You
Yeah.
know. Uh,
It just reminds me of like people claiming their Banksy. I'm like, oh, it just seems weird.
mhm.
It's like,
What was like the
um,
last time you think there was like a peak though? For me, it was around 2015 when there was like Headless and Flowers and movies like
Oh, on the indie film scene. Yeah.
yeah,
Like,
like because like things happen. I mean, we've had Degenerates and like every year there's like a big one comes out, but like
and there's well, something like Steve and I we talk about it. There's now like a 3-year cycle in the group, the Unearthed group. Particularly, you can start to watch it, but there's new people who come in and they kind of rise to the top of who's kind of like popular and the it thing of whatever
mhm,
they're doing and talking about, and then they'll fade away, and then it just kind of they're replaced by
mhm,
another group. But it's like these 3-year waves where like, okay, these filmmakers are popular now, these filmmakers are popular now, but it goes in, but it's like a 3-year wave.
mhm.
And right now I think like Jonathan Doe's catching the start of that wave.
Yeah.
mhm.
And I feel like in a lot of way he kind of took over like Sam Howell's popularity and aspects. I mean, I'm saying like Sam Howell's not popular still, but there's like only so far you can take something before it just kind of starts becoming like everything else you've done. So like, and so yeah, and so sometimes it's nice to have a fresh face just because you don't want to become stagnant.
Yeah. So he's taking, familiar things and doing something different with them.
Hmm.
You know, his newest one sounds bananas. I'm
Yeah.
the one to do effects on it. It's Jesse's gonna do all the effects on
Okay,
it.
I was going to ask, like, are you involved in
Oh
any
yeah.
way? Yeah.
Yeah. I'll be around, but like, yeah, it's primarily Jesse's gig for this
Is it
one.
James Bell as well, or
Oh wait, I don't know. He hasn't said.
okay?
Maybe I don't know.
Well,
I
I
think
think
Jesse's just doing all the effects.
I think the extreme horror landscape will change when you release your baby doll. What
Mhm.
was the title?
Oh, Baby Doll. Yeah.
Yep.
If I could
Mhm.
ever make that, if you want to read the script, I'll send you the script. You'd be like,
Oh yeah,
holy
100%.
shit,
I would love
why
to.
aren't you making this? Like,
Sure, why not?
and it's not an extreme film. Like I'm like, it's probably the most mainstream sort of thing, but mainstream in the way of like, I don't know, Return of the Living Dead, and
Hmm.
like
Right, like a
that
culty
vibe.
mainstream, like a
Yeah,
cult classic mainstream. Yeah.
yeah. I
So
don't know.
what?
Will I find the money? I don't know. The timing's got to be right, I suppose. Like, I'll let you
Mhm.
guys read it. Let me know what you think.
Yeah, I'm totally done. So I guess last and final question: what do you see for the future of extreme cinema?
I hope we get some more rule breakers. You know, like I think on the big budget side of extreme filmmaking, I think Gaspar Noé is like
Hmm.
probably the closest we're going to get the filmmakers like Tinto Brass and yeah, films like Come and See and Chekist. Like he's probably the top there
Hmm.
because he kind of pushes stuff to
Or Lars
extreme.
von Trier.
Laws Von Trier, yeah. I mean, but they're still. I mean, but that's different from the underground. Like, I mean, those don't go toe to toe with Lucifer Valentine or Fred Vogel. You know. But it'd be nice to see, like, if something else can kind of, I don't know, and I hope it's someone new. Like, and whoever new comes out, like maybe everyone will shit on them at first, but maybe they'll stick it out long enough to be like, prove that, like, nope, I did that. You know, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
It's just a matter of someone new coming around and sticking it out long enough.
It's hard in
Like,
cinema. I was thinking about that because, like, musicians, they'll be like, okay, I'm going to go, like, you know, they won't put out an album for 10 years, and then they make their big comeback with an album. And then sometimes they'll start their career up all over again. But with filmmaking, it's kind of like, I feel like sometimes some people hit that wall.
Yeah.
Sometimes it has to do with finances. Sometimes it has to do with creativity.
Well, the business changes so frequently of like how it used to change from like having a production, you know, big producers that were supporting you, but now you don't need one. You know, you could self-produce yourself. You could do whatever you need. So all these people are like having to learn how to invent themselves.
Yeah. And there was a time like maybe 15 years ago, you could shoot a movie for 15 to 30,000 and sell it for 300,000. That's gone. That's never coming back.
Yeah.
You could shoot a small movie and sell it for a lot of money, but that's not coming back. Those days are gone. You know, I mean, like, you'll hear about the, like, you know, what do they say? The hero story of, like, oh, Blair Witch Project was shot for 60,000, or
El Mariachi.
Paranormal Activity, El Mariachi for $7,000, like Paranormal Activity for 11 grand. You know, those are few and far between. Everyone wants to be one of those, but not everyone's going to be one. You know.
Yeah. Yeah, I personally think like the future is just going to be someone upping the ante, but I feel like there's nothing really to up the ante. So it's just
it has to be story. It has to be story.
Yeah,
it has to be some
taboo, like some weird, like,
not even taboo. I mean, you could do taboo in the story, but it has to be something that just fucks with people's head.
Yeah,
it's got to hit people. Yeah, it can't just be visual. Like, like, I mean, sorry, we've already crossed so many lines with a Serbian film, but that's now over 11 years old. A Serbian film, like, you crossed the ultimate taboo. You fucked a baby. Where do you go? You know, where do you go from there?
Well, you got movies like Found that are just super depressing and they hit you really hard too.
And that's why I love Scott Shermer, because he really does like add to a different thing. And he's one of the first people I really seen to like use male rape, like, but in a very powerful like way. That it kind of puts you in a separate place that you're not used to. Because you're so used to seeing female rape, but like as soon as you start seeing it in the male side, you're like, oh shit.
People shit on that, and then they're like, oh wait,
powerful.
Well, that can work both ways, can it? Really, you know? And like, so I think his films are very strong, and he's got a very good vision and eye, you know, creatively. Like, all of his worlds are very, they feel very well thought out and developed. You know.
Have you ever seen anything from Simon Rumley? He did his most popular movies are The Living and the Dead, Red, White, and Blue. Red, White, and Blue is a really fun movie.
Red, White, and Blue. Yes. Oh, yes. I work with Mark Center, who's in Red, White, and Blue.
Yeah, that movie takes you to places that a Serbian film doesn't quite get there, I feel.
Yeah,
so.
That's the rough one that doesn't come up. I mean, there's films on that level that are so fucked up, but they're not. Yeah, like, where do you place them? Because they're dramas.
We call them disturbing dramas usually on the show. Like, kind of.
Actually, I would love to do a whole episode on disturbing drama, and we'll definitely put Fell in that. You know.
Oh yeah. I'd love to talk about. I mean, that's like one of my favorite genres is just films that are so fucked up that surpass horror, but they're
like
more
Possession, 1981 is one of my fucking favorite films of all time.
God damn. Yeah.
Yeah. And then I think nowadays someone that's doing pretty good on that, but he's getting so much attention that it's tiring, but it's Ari Aster has really managed to do the, like, because like with Hereditary, it's a paranormal film, but it's more the character drama that's the disturbing part rather than the
I hate the fact that like people like then this is a new term. They're like, oh, elevated horror.
Yeah, I actually used it on our other show on accident, and then like I got called out. I think I forgot who. Someone said they hate that word. No, I think I just heard someone say that, and I was like, yeah, I hate that too. I need to try not to say that anymore.
Yeah, like I hate the term, but like I mean, I love Ari Aster, I love Robert Eggers. Like, you know, if that's what they're gonna call elevated horror, I mean, it's just I don't know. I mean, I don't know, but maybe what else do you call it? You know,
art house. I mean,
art house. I mean, to me, it's art house. It's highbrow, like, but like The Witch, The Lighthouse, Hereditary.
Lighthouse was really good.
Lighthouse was great.
Midsommar, like all of those films, to really appreciate them, you have to have studied in the subject they're talking about, because he's not just making up like some hocus pocus, like, oh, this is the devil, magic, witchcraft, you know, and they do this and that, and that's some, you know, I mean, what he's bringing to the table is 100% like accurate.
Well, I do appreciate people that actually do bring horror that is stuff that can actually happen. You know, like a lot of people do the paranormal or monsters or these creatures or whatever, and like, yeah, there is some things about like cults that can be.
Now, how many people do you think worship King Paimon? From I've just seen people on the internet now that are like worshiping the deity that they're worshiping in Hereditary now.
Oh God,
King Paimon.
I mean, but it's all of its roots are all real. Yeah. It's all, you know, it's like learning, like if you had never heard of Christianity, you know, like that was some like weird thing you would never.
Sounds like heaven.
And then no, if you had never heard of Christianity, and this is the devil. So this is like older than Christianity, and this is all like Solomonic magic. That's where Paimon comes from. But I mean, but what I appreciate is it's true to its core and roots. And you don't see that. Like a lot of times, you know, evil or devil worship in movies is so fucking.
It's an easy negative disorientation. Yeah.
If that makes sense, right?
Yeah. I mean, it's the same as how punk rock is represented. It's just a.
Oh, and SLC punk. Yeah, no, that's a fucking great. That's a great analogy. It's like, oh, this is punk rock, SLC punk.
Yeah.
No,
there's a lot of different.
I mean, punk is one of those things you had to live the lifestyle to really be that. You know, that's one of the things. Yeah, I'm a little to get about.
Yeah.
It's a lifestyle, man, not a uniform.
But it is. I mean, it really is. And I feel like there's certain styles of music, like hip hop and punk, are like, it's part of the culture that it really makes the music what it is. You know?
Yeah.
My phone is about to crash down to 2%. So,
yeah, it's all good.
Good time. We're about to call it out anyway. So
yeah, let's close out the show, man. Thanks a lot for being on.
No, thanks for having me. Anytime. Like, I love doing these. Yeah.
We're have a monotopic episode sometime for like dark dramas. That'd be cool. Or disturbing dramas.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, and 100% on the mixtape. At least doing one. I know we talked about doing all of them, but I think that might be. I don't know how many people will get to do all three, like sitting down all at once.
So if you want to do
like 4 hours of your life, you'll never get back.
If you want to do a MK Ultra Mega Mix screening, sometime
the all four thing sounds great, and you know, doing that.
Yeah, I'm down. Cool. Let's do it. Sweet, man. Well, thanks a lot. Have a great night.
Thanks. Thanks for having me on. Have a good night, guys.
Yeah, thank you.
Thanks.
Well, that was our interview with Marcus Koch. Yeah, a lot of fun. Always a pleasure talking with Marcus Koch.
I love that guy.
Yeah, he's definitely one of the genuine ones of the horror scene. I've even talked with certain people, and they've always mentioned like people that you could just chat with. It's definitely Marcus Cook is up there. So I always appreciate it.
Yeah, totally. And he's saying he's totally down to have Discord movie screenings and stuff again. So anyone who was on before knew how fun that was when we did the Rot screening.
Yeah, we are planning on doing it again. We just kind of want to revamp it and make it sound better, look better, and figure out how to do it right. Because we won't did it as promotion, but we enjoy it. I love it. I could do it fucking forever. I would do one a month if I could. It's just getting people to do, not using the same people. It's a lot to, have people commit to just showing their film and talking over their film.
And if you haven't noticed, just by watching right now, you can tell that we're kind of upping our game. So I think those screenings will go a lot smoother in the future, for multiple reasons. So yeah, just keep your eyes peeled out for that. Other than that, there's not a lot new that we didn't mention last episode. You can find us on pretty much every platform. We got 2 new shows, Horror Corridor, which is the music show. About to do episode 5 with Bloodshot this week. Who was crazy. He was on Unearthed Records and Fangoria Records. And then we have Parents Under the Stairs, which is with my wife Presley, which that's every week. We record Sunday, upload Sunday usually. And then...
yeah, we have a couple of new episodes coming. Our Felicia Fisher is our next interview. And then our Scott Shimmer episode should be fun.
Yep. Bunch of crap in the pipeline, so hell yeah. Thanks everyone.
I can quote way too much Emo Phillips. Hold on.
Give me some Emo Phillips. I love the humor. It's been a while.
There's nothing more amazing in the morning than a fresh pot of piping hot coffee. I've tried other enemas. No, he's like hands down my favorite comedian.